Welcome back to the final block of Techsylvania. I hope you had a good few networking sessions and are ready for the final four presentations. So, with that, we are kicking it off for another fireside chat. And our host for that fireside chat is also a returning Techsylvania speaker. Ralph Echemendia is a world-renowned cybersecurity expert and internationally known as the ethical hacker, currently co-founder and CEO of Mass.live, a live social video streaming network launching in the summer of 2021. And he is going to talk with Christopher Leacock, also known as Jillionaire, about creativity in a post-pandemic world, which I'm very excited to hear. Please welcome Ralph and Jillionaire.
Hey guys.
Hey, Philip, how are you?
Good to see you again, my friend.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too. I would love to see you in person again, but under the circumstances, I guess this is what we got to deal with. And Chris and I have actually known each other for a bit, and it's great to see you, man, and then really kind of catch up in a way. So this is really more than just a fireside chat. It's two friends catching up on what's going on in the world, and especially when it comes to the creative and what's happening within the entertainment events and creative world.
Mm-hmm.
So Chris, big up, and what a pleasure to see you, man. So with that said, I mean, man, what the hell's going on, right? This is a time where I think from a creative perspective, and everyone is having to be creative in some way or another now. So, I mean, what do you think? What have you seen and had to deal with yourself when it comes to, being sort of quarantined for all this period of time? And certainly is an environment to foster creativity, I guess.
It is definitely been an environment to foster creativity. I think that for myself and a number of other people that I've spoken to, we understand scarcity and uncertainty in our field because as we've grown through the ranks, we've had to deal with a lot of scarcity and uncertainty. So this is obviously a very unique time, but it's not the first time that a lot of us have found ourselves in a similar position. It may have gone on far longer than initially expected, but we tend to have a bit more capacity to deal with the scarcity and uncertainty than I would say like the regular 9-to-5, for instance. For me, the biggest attribute that people have had to really lean into over the last 6 or 9 months or so has been the ability to pivot. And what I mean by that is being able to say, okay, if I am a creative and I am no longer able to work in person, I'm no longer able to show my work, to present my work in the way that I used to. How do I pivot? How do I find other tools? How do I find other mechanisms? How do I find other ways to tell my story? And even this conversation we're having right now is a fundamental example that ability to pivot, in that this is something that we would generally have in person. And the mere fact that we're doing it right now speaks volumes, because I think if somebody had asked me a year ago to have a conversation on Zoom, I would have probably politely declined. I'm not a big FaceTimer. I'm not huge on the phone. I definitely believe in the value of one-to-one human interaction, and I know that you and I have had a few conversations about that as well. But I think that right now, a number of creatives are looking for ways that they can not only present their work in a digital space, but also potentially monetize in a digital space, regardless of what that might look like, and regardless of the time span. I know that for a lot of us, we really want to get back to the business of being on stage, or being in comedy houses, or being in art galleries, or being in any of these safe creative spaces that we have fostered over the years and years of our careers. But at the same time, we also understand that there are certain limitations and restrictions that we need to work with in the meantime.
Yeah, that's that's the main thing. Obviously, we are all concerned about safety,
Yeah.
and we're all, obviously not going to be doing things that make us and others unsafe. But at the same time, like you said, there's that human connection.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that in fact, early on when this whole thing started and you and I spoke, remember, we were talking about just what was going to happen with the psychology of people as they're now getting more used to, if you will, having to sit in front of a computer
Mm-hmm.
and go to an event or experience something that way. And ultimately, like you said, there's the monetizing of all that, but the human psychology, I think, is changing a little bit. I think you had a very good point, which is that we as human beings tend to go right back to what we were doing before very quickly.
Brilliant. Yeah, we bounce back.
Yeah, and this is one that that's so true too. But at the same time, with this ongoing, the amount of time that this has gone on now, right, and continuing to go on, I think it is somewhat rewiring people to accept certain things more and more, right? And obviously within certain age groups, because obviously the youth are always going to jump out there, right? They're invincible. But with certain age groups, like, take, for example, out here, the Hollywood Bowl, a great deal of the people who are members of a venue like that, who would attend shows, are rather old, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even when it does come back and you're allowed, how many people are going to think twice about that, right? So that's something that still remains to be seen, right? But one of the things that I think, and you can speak to that a lot more, is with all this time, man, there's got to be about 100,000 coronavirus songs out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that consumer confidence is a significant challenge that we all going to face, whether it's for conferences or for music festivals or just for events. I mean, bars and restaurants right now are struggling with consumer confidence, right? Because the average consumer is very apprehensive about going to a bar or a restaurant, given the climate, given the environment. I'm very risk facing, so I'm probably one of the people that feels, based on the independent research that I have done and based on the industry experts that I've read and so on, it's really going to come down to taking the proper precautions, and whether those are technical precautions or social precautions, at some point we're going to have to go back to a mix of digital experience and in-person experience. I think that the digital experience offers significant advantages, and I think that we can continue to run digital experiences in parallel, in tandem with the physical experiences, because it allows people who may not necessarily be able to afford the ancillary costs of attending a large festival like Tomorrowland. It allows people to reach a fan base where they are, which is, reaching the consumer where they are is one of the first tenets of running a startup. And as creators, the digital space allows us to reach our consumers right where they are, whether that's in Fortnite or on TikTok or in Instagram, et cetera, et cetera. So it's definitely been a massive engagement tool, but at the same time, there's an energy and there's an emotion that related to being in a physical space and communing with people who are like-minded, that is unmatched. And at some point, we're going to have to slowly start moving back to that. I think about it. So it's sort of like, you have your favorite restaurant, and now you can go watch your favorite chef prepare meals on Instagram or on Patreon or on Zoom or whatever it is, and you can try it at home, and it probably comes out pretty good. But the dining experience is not just about the food. It's like we can all, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers can attest to that, because so many people would have been preparing their own meals over the last few months where they may have never prepared meals before. I have friends who, they go out every night, and not because anything's wrong with them, but just like the nature of their jobs, you know, they work in hospitality, they work in entertainment, they're out every night, you know, and now these people are at home, they're preparing meals, they perform all these activities. But the big part, you know, the big thing about being able to go out and enjoy a meal with friends is just, you know, there's ambiance and there's a service component. And there are all these soft components, let's call it, you know, that's in from the digital experience. So like the digital experience is phenomenal. You know, you know, Wave have done some amazing stuff. They did the TikTok concert with the weekend. They did the John Legend concert on YouTube. Travis Scott and Fortnite smashed records, and there are a number of platforms that are, you know, kind of coming up to take advantage of that gap in the space right now, such as you're doing. And you know, I've spoken to a couple of the founders who are working on similar tools as well, in order for people to reach their audiences via video, to deliver experiential performances, etc. So it's been a fascinating time technology-wise, and I think for me, sorry, for me, what's most exciting is how we are going to be able to adapt all of this technology and create different entertainment verticals depending on the consumer. Once we are able to go back to a more normal way of life and a more normal way of performing outside and going to live events, you know, even if it's just like your neighborhood restaurant that has a live band on a Wednesday night, you know, people miss, you know, the subtleties of that sort of interaction. But I think that we're going to see some unique verticals popping up where, okay, if I have a live show now, I can also live stream that show, and I can monetize that stream, or I can archive the stream and I can monetize the archive, and you know, and venues can provide this facility and bands can provide these facilities to their fans, and so on and so on. So I think we're going to see some interesting new business models and value models popping up over the next, I would say over the next year or so. You know, I think that we're probably going to have a solid 3-year cycle from the commencement of this pandemic to the point where the average consumer is fully confident to go to a restaurant or go to a concert or to go to a public event, you know, regardless of the effectiveness of vaccinations, et cetera. But I think that over the course of that 3-month cycle, we're going to see some really interesting value propositions emerge.
Yeah, and I think you're very much correct on the fact that I think this is going to create some new business models, some revenue models that we didn't have before, and that it's not a matter of that. There's no way to replace the live experience. There's no way to replace like you said, there's and certainly we have all been experiencing these live streams and such, but there is a way for the two worlds to sort of come together in some way that is really going to be interesting, and being able to have certain elements of the physical that still play a part when you're sitting in front of the computer, because otherwise it just feels like we're all just 1984 here, just just in 2020. But one of the things too that I think has been, especially, I think a lot of things have kind of had to rise to the top, right? In so many different ways, right? Like this is pushing the issues that before we really none of this is new. I mean, let's face it, streaming, none of the technology behind streaming are new. This is all kind of very mature technology, but not the experience part, to your point, right? The experience part, because of this, we just had to figure out how to use tools and make the best of them. And unfortunately, to your point, many of them didn't immediately allow the artists to monetize their art. And I think that's one of the most important things is, as I'm a big advocate for artists and just the arts in general. And I think that's one of the most important things. So in a way, I also feel like this is going to kind of put the power even more so in the artist's hands, with regards to turn on that live stream in the future, right? And it's gonna. I think it's gonna. We're gonna find out that it's gonna be a good thing after all, right? I think again, I'm kind of optimistic with what's been happening. But what do you think about what the future may look like as an artist from the perspective of, do you think it's actually gonna put you in a position to forget just the money, but like you said, be able to get out to those disenfranchised fans, if you will. That's what they call them in sports, right?
Yeah. Culture is constantly evolving, and as creators, as contributors to culture, we have to evolve as well. We can't. I have no idea what's going to happen in the future, and nobody has any control over that. But what we can do right now is contribute as much as possible to shaping that future. It's the same way when people ask me about, oh, what do you think music is going to sound like in the next 5 years or 10 years? I have no idea. But the one thing I can do right now is contribute to how music feels and sounds right now, and in so doing, contribute to what it's going to look like in the future. In terms of looking at other verticals and new ways to reach consumers and to engage with a fan base, it's really been an interesting time, because it's like you said previously, before all of this, I've obviously heard of Zoom before, but I didn't have Zoom installed on my, and now it's probably the most used application on my laptop, and I'm on a Zoom almost every day. And again, who would have thought it? Because I prefer physical engagement. I built a career and a lifestyle over the last 10 years that afforded me a significant degree of mobility and flexibility, and the opportunity to say yes in order to put myself in line of sight of opportunities. If you said to me, hey, come out to Estonia, or come out to Transylvania, or come out to LA, or come out to Austin for this thing, I'd be like, yeah, sure, just let me know when to be there. So not some of that flexibility and mobility has been taken away temporarily. We really have to look at how can we create multiple channels. And one of those multiple channels might say, okay, I'm looking forward to the day when I'll be able to go back to doing live shows, but I'm also looking forward to the fact that I can continue to engage with my super fans, which is like my very core audience, and B, engage with my like you said, disenfranchised fan base, which may be people that are not able to physically attend a live show, and those people would have been previously engaging through Instagram or Facebook or some kind of static media. And now there's the potential to engage in real time. So whereas before bands would have had a lighting guy and a video guy and a front of house guy and a guy who does monitors, I'm sure now you're going to see a lot of bands that are going to start setting up, and they have a guy who's going to be running the drone, and a guy who's going to be doing the wide from front of house, and a guy who's going to be doing the close-ups, and all of this stuff that people are going to want in a digital experience. I've never really even been a big fan of the award shows for that same reason, in that I understand the value of them, but for me, I really enjoy the physical experience, the tangible experience of attending an event. But in the same way that people, tune in massive numbers to watch the Emmys or to watch the Grammys, I think that we're gonna get into a space where people are gonna tune in massive numbers to watch a live stream that might be on Netflix, or it might be on Hulu. It might be on Amazon. I think that this is going to create, a whole new interesting monetization opportunity for artists and for musicians and for the festivals as well. What's it called? Tomorrowland. Tomorrowland did record numbers. They were able to lower the cost of the tickets. They were able to sell VIP tickets to provide particular access to certain consumers, and they were able to sell millions of tickets to kids all around the world who have fantasized about attending Tomorrowland for years on end. And now they're finally able to be a part of that global online experience. And then what that does in turn is that it also fuels further anticipation for the physical event. So now a lot of those kids that went, wow, like this was really cool. This was a really interesting, let's say it's a really interesting introduction to the world of Tomorrowland. But I can't wait now to actually physically attend the event. And I think that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a space where people that can't necessarily physically attend an event can now find ways to do so, and the bands can find ways to monetize that interaction. But it's also going to create even more enthusiasm, and it's also going to provide sort of a analytic back end for people to sort of look at the decision making process and go, wow, this many people bought tickets to see my show in Sydney, Australia. Then maybe I should really think about I should go do a show in Sydney, Australia. I should go do a show in Mexico City, because so now that we're doing things online, it's given us a little bit of analytics to see, where these fans are coming from, how they're engaging, and in what numbers they're engaging. And the smart creator is going to look at that and go, hey, there's something here that I can take advantage of going forward.
Yeah, it provides for a greater level of intelligence for all of us, really, as to where the fan base is. And then I think that was a good point about, again, especially those fans who could never go to Tomorrowland, right? And they've only seen that one or two videos, to be able to experience in some way. I think what it's really doing, Chris, is it's expanding the pot, especially like within industries like music or entertainment, where it's, the pie has already been sliced so many ways, right? And everybody's just trying to fight for a piece of the pie, and all of a sudden now the pie has been extended as a result of this. And I think that is a good thing. I think to a large degree too, having this time that we've all had to sort of have to look inward, right? Really creates innovation and kind of, like I said, puts everybody in a creative place. Even if they're not artistic, it's forcing people to have to be creative in the way they live, communicate, and interact. And it's again, like you said, who would have thought, man? A year ago we were in Estonia a year ago, right about this time.
Yeah.
And
yeah, exactly.
The last thing we could possibly think of is that we would be in this situation, right? So but I think at the end of the day, it's a good thing for creativity overall, right? That we're pushed to have to figure things out, right? And innovation, like you said, and evolution, like you said, that's key.
I think, yeah, we constantly pushing ourselves. We're constantly pushing ourselves. We're constantly holding ourselves to a high standard of delivery, and now it's just really about figuring out how can I open up other channels so that I can deliver to that same high standard. How can I open up other channels so that I can communicate? How can I also do the emotional and mental housekeeping that's required to continue to service my fan base in the way that I would like, even if it's not optimal, and that might be people who are going to do merch when they maybe never did merch before. People that are going to do online events when they never did online events before. People that are going to make themselves available via Cameo. They're going to make themselves available via Q&As. They're going to make themselves available via Zoom calls. There's all of these, new fun and interesting things that are going to pop up. And it's just really up to us to, again, keep challenging ourselves and keep testing ourselves and keep pushing ourselves to find new ways to continue to engage with our fan base.
Yep.
Ralph,
Well
Chris,
said, man. Well said.
I really appreciate it. I really appreciate that you're coming with us online, even if you prefer in-person events. Hopefully next year by this time we're going to be able to do that. And Chris is going to be available in the QA stage that he can take your questions one-on-one. So thank you both very much for hosting this super engaging chat. I really appreciate it. Thank you both.
Thank you. I didn't even realize the time was up. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.